Well, hello. It is Steven Rothberg. I'm Steven Rothberg with College Recruiter. I am the founder, and we are here for another episode of the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast. Peter, you want to introduce yourself, and then you can fire away with the first question for today's guest.
Sure. I'm Peter Zollman with the AIM Group. We do business intelligence for recruitment marketplaces, among other things. And we've got Phil Greenwood of Careerlink with us. And the most obvious beginning question, tell us in about a minute what Careerlink is, why you bought it, and what it's doing.
Yeah, so Careerlink, I purchased it about 2.5 years ago. It was founded in Omaha, Nebraska about 30 years ago as part of a nonprofit organization. And it was designed to upskill sort of technical workers there in Omaha, sort of enable them to get better paying jobs and have a better standard of living. And we not only have the traditional job board offering, but we have a new slew of digital recruiting tools and talent engagement that incorporates a lot of new stuff. And we also offer staffing services.
Excellent. So one of the main reasons why I wanted to have you on, Phil, is that I was reading several months back that Careerlink is undergoing an investment effort, but it's using a vehicle that you're not unique, but I think you'd agree it's unusual. The SEC's Securities and Exchange Commission's Regulation A plus, I think. It's a crowdfunding option. Maybe you can tell the listeners a little bit about like what that is, why Careerlink went that path rather than like a more traditional, VC, private equity, friends and family, whatever.
Yeah, so Reg A plus, I was actually introduced to just through a Wall Street Journal article, actually. I was reading about it, and I thought it might make sense for us. And so I reached out to the organization they were actually interviewing about it, who was a company called Manhattan Street Capital. And we had sort of an intro call and to just sort of feel each other out and see if it sort of made sense for us. And for me, in raising capital, we have sort of twofold goals. One is we have an M&A strategy on the services side of our business. And then we also want to grow organically through our tech engineering sort of sales organizations. And there exists some goodness in our strategy that is between sort of the traditional public software company valuations and the services side of our business on the private side of things. And so in order to see if we can capitalize on that, we basically need to be a public entity eventually, right? And so the Reg A plus, as opposed to, why didn't we go with, whatever, a WeFunder or sort of one where you don't have to go through all the rigors of a Regulation A plus, because a Regulation A plus is really like it's sort of like a mini. They sometimes refer to it as like a mini IPO almost, because you truly are a public company after you get done with it, and you get through all your filings with the SEC and all the audits that need to go through with it, and it's expensive. Honestly, it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. It took us probably, I don't know, maybe 18 months to actually finally get through with it. There's no guarantees when you file things with the SECs. They have no sort of timeline in which they have to get back to you. And so you
Someday.
you sort of file, you get your audits done. So you're working with a plethora of consultants and lawyers and accounting companies. And it was a lot, to be perfectly honest. And it was pricey, but for us, it made sense because in order for us to execute on our acquisition plan, in order to sort of see if we can witness sort of the rewards of our acquisition strategy, we ultimately needed to be a public entity and to list on an exchange eventually. And so that's why we went that route. I don't know if I would recommend it for everyone. Parts of it are honestly painful, right? And then expensive. So I would say, if depending on what you're trying to do, you could very possibly be better off on a traditional route, like a private equity route. And just because you do a Reg A plus doesn't mean that you're not still dealing with institutional investment potentially. So I can tell you that we're talking to a number of PE firms currently that basically you just view them as sort of participating in your round, and whether or not they go through sort of the Reg A plus with discounts because they're buying in larger dollar amounts. But those have to be disclosed to the SEC as well, or you go through what's called a Reg D, which is a more traditional sort of investment route, which allows them to come in and sort of a little bit of a different format. So it really just depends what you're trying to do.
So you do essentially a road show to the PEs and those sorts of people. Are you also just getting random crowdfunding from people off the street who found you online and are putting in X thousands or X hundreds or tens of thousands or whatever? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's correct. You can actually go to the website, and I know we're not supposed to plug, but if you do go to the website, you can go to careerlink.com. You'll see on the top bar, you'll see the ability to invest. You can click there. It takes you right to the investment platform. You can find out about the business, what we're trying to do, why we're raising the funds. So yeah, we do. And, Careerlink, having been around for 30 years, it has, I don't know what we've got, something like 8,000, 9,000 past employers and, 1 million or so, job seekers that are registered with us. And so you have your own sort of crowdfunding base that you can reach out to with sort of, hey, here's what we're trying to do. And if you'd like to participate, here's how you can. It's, I think for us, there's a minimum investment amount. It's at $400. So, that's pretty attainable for most folks. So we do get the individual investor as well, but, the majority of the round will be from larger entities.
So give us the 60-second sales pitch. Are you profitable? Have you revenue in the millions, tens of millions, hundreds, thousands, that sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. We're profitable. I can tell you that when I was looking at acquiring the business, they had been struggling a bit. They're still profitable, but their revenue had been declining for about 3 years prior. They only provided 3 years of financials prior as we were looking at the deal. But I can tell you that their revenue was shrinking, right? And profits were shrinking. And I can tell you that since I've acquired it, we're about to be in year 3 that we've grown revenue and profit every year since I've acquired it. And this is all public, actually. You can go out and look at it now. That's part of the Reg A plus, is you can actually go look at our finances. Our revenues are in the millions. We're a profitable organization. One of the things that was really attractive about the business is that it had a great client base. I mean, it just outstanding names, right? You're just like, wow, like they've got a great base to work from in terms of the client base. The technology, I mean, you guys know a ton more about job boards than I do. I know that. And but I can tell you on the technology side, the software side, that I'm longer in the tooth on sort of the software and the development side of things. And so what we really saw in this was the opportunity to sort of step in and develop some really cool new technology, which is what we sort of do with the talent. We have a new talent engagement offering. And what that does is it allows our clients to sort of re-engage with past candidates and the new candidates they bring in to sort of automate sort of a lot of the outreach and how those candidates want to be communicated with or not communicated with, and sort of at what cadence and in what medium they want to be communicated with. So we're looking to do a lot more automation around that. And so that's where we're sort of headed with things outside the traditional job board. And then, of course, we have the staffing option on the services side of things, which plays into, we have kind of a unique value prop there where we say, hey, if we place someone as a candidate through our staffing organization, we'll actually count that placement towards your staffing fees or towards your software licensing fee. So it becomes a pretty cost-effective and sort of a no-brainer option for our clients because they're already using staffing in certain cases. So they say, oh, great, if we can get our technology paid for, our software license paid for as well, let's go sign up with Careerlink. So it's been a very popular offering that we're looking to grow on the services side of things. That's why we're looking to raise money. Mostly about 75% of that capital will go towards acquisitions to grab more of these staffing organizations, bring them onto our platform, get them more effective at it, and in turn translate more of those folks into our software licensing customers as well.
Is there a deadline or cutoff for investment? Do you, when somebody says, I want to invest, do they send you a check immediately? What's that process look like very briefly?
Yeah, so there's no deadline or cutoff. They can invest with a credit card and they can do it immediately, or if they can do wires, they can send in checks. And I think we do like ticklers to try and just remind them, hey, you said you wanted to invest, we're waiting and we're hoping you're still interested. So, yeah. And then there's also the SEC basically qualifies you for a year to raise funds during your Reg A. And then if you want to continue conducting fundraising for the next year, you basically sort of re-up with them and say, yeah, we'd like to continue this round for the next year if you haven't closed it out, or if you want to increase the round or whatnot. I suppose you work with your attorneys to figure out how you get that in front of the SEC properly.
Well, so listeners who haven't heard of this, or crowdfunding as both a growth strategy and also eventually as an exit strategy, should have a look and see what Adam Gordon and his team did at Candidate ID. They did a crowdfunding. I don't think it was through GoFundMe, but it was a platform that was similar to that, but more of a consumer kind of platform, a lower level than this. And one of the big benefits was that they were able to really get that in front of a lot of influencers. So potential buyers, people who were in the industry, and then sort of had a bit of a financial incentive to talk about Candidate ID, to promote it, open doors for them. So interesting. So before we leave off, Phil, is there anything that you'd like to sort of leave the listeners with, how they can reach you if they have any questions, anything along those lines?
Yeah, you can always reach out to me on email. I'm at pgreenwood@careerlink.com. If you have any questions about really anything, I'm happy to chat with you about the ups and the downs of sort of Reg A Plus and what it looks like, and also if you're interested in sort of talent engagement and automation and building talent pools, that's something that we're very interested in. So it's sort of beyond the core job board offering, but it's something we've moved fairly heavily into. So, yeah.
Awesome. Peter, any last words?
No last words, but one last question for Phil. What was your target to raise, and what have you raised to date?
20 million, and we're on our way and closing in on the first half of the round.
So you're almost up to 10 million?
We're getting there. You can ask me again at the end of next week, and we'll see how far we've gotten.
Oh, I hear somebody has said there's a check in the mail.
Got it.
Yeah, there's a lot of promises, and then you gotta make sure that they deliver.
Well, good luck with that.
Excellent.
Thank you for talking to us. We appreciate it, and we'll check in again and see how the crowd fundraising has gone.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.